Hello, my name is Kelly Corbett. I'm the product manager for the Apple eMate 300, and it's my pleasure to introduce the product to you along with some of its hardware and software features. This is the Apple eMate 300, the newest product built by educators for education. Over the past 2 years, we've gathered a lot of information from educators to find out what would work for them as far as technology in a distributed learning environment. What we lacked in our distributed learning environment was an affordable mobile tool that would allow students, administrators, teacher access to information wherever that information might reside. The information may be in a classroom, in a lab, in a library, on a field trip, and what we needed was a tool that would allow people to be able to capture information, jot information down, and communicate and collaborate wherever that information may be. If you take a look at the left side of the device, there's a sliding door. Behind this door, you have a 9-pin connector for serial connectivity to a Macintosh or a Windows desktop computer. This serial port on the Macintosh side can also be used for local talk cabling. As you slide the door to the left, you'll find another serial port. This is called the Newton Interconnect port. It has the functionality of power, sound in, and sound out. And we're looking to our third-party developers to promote this technology and perhaps in the future create an external microphone to record sound. Next to the Newton Interconnect port, you have the AC adapter. An AC adapter ships with your Apple eMate. The rear of the machine is the wireless communication. This is the infrared eye, capable of beaming information from eMate to eMate, from Newton to eMate, and because of the IRDA protocol that is built into the product, you can also beam information from your eMate to a Hewlett-Packard infrared capable printer. There is also a handle for carrying your eMate, or if you choose, when you dock your eMate into a charging station, you can use the handle as a lockdown security device. On the right side of the computer is a headphone jack, so that if you're using any type of sound files, you can plug in a headphone and have the students work one-on-one with the eMate. And then we also support expandability through PCM-CIA. PCM-CIA cards, type 1, 2, or 3, are easily slid into this port, and then there's an eject button to release the cards. There is no on-off switch with the Apple eMate. You simply flip up the lid and the system is automatically on. You'll notice that there is an integrated keyboard as well as a stylus. These are your two methods of input. Located directly above the stylus is an integrated speaker if you're working with sound files. And to go with the speaker, there is a volume slider as well as a contrast slider. The contrast slider is used with the display to show off the 16 shades of gray that are available for a user when they're working with image files. What I'd like to do now is show you some of the integrated software packages that are included with the eMate 300. NewtonWorks is the name of the integrated software package that's built into the Apple eMate 300 as part of the whole product solution. NewtonWorks is comprised of a word processor, a spreadsheet, a graphing calculator, and a drawing package. Let's take a quick tour of the NewtonWorks application. When you tap on the New button, you're given 4 choices. You can create a word processing document, a new graphic calculation, a drawing, or a spreadsheet. Let's start by creating a word processing paper. Tap on Paper and you get a title page. You can now name your document. Let's call this Biology. You'll notice that the menus at the bottom of the screen have changed to reflect a word processing environment. When we select Format, we can also show a ruler. When you type information on the eMate, it automatically goes into the document. And then you can set your margins. You can create justification, center, right, or left justification, and of course continue typing. Today we are going to dissect a frog's brain. You'll notice that I have some typos in here, but that's okay because part of the word processing package gives you the capability to correct your spelling. We'll select Tools and then spell check. The system goes out and will call up its internal dictionary, and it will give me guesses as to what I thought the word was supposed to be. If I don't see my word in there, I can type the information. Here it catches frog. I can simply press return. The system then comes back and tells you how many words you've spelled wrong and how many it has corrected. Another feature of the word processor is the capability to go in and jot something down, not using your keyboard, but instead using the stylus. How many times have you been in a class where you're typing information and all of a sudden the educator goes to the chalkboard and starts drawing something, like a timeline, or in this case, they're drawing a picture of the frog. The feature that I'm talking about is something called Quick Sketch. By selecting our tool menu once more, and then Quick Sketch, we're brought to a blank sheet of paper where we can now draw anything that we'd like. In this case, we'll draw our frog, of which we're going to dissect its brain. So here's the frog, and here's the brain that we want to dissect. By tapping Insert, that information goes from the Quick Sketch directly into the word processing document. Perhaps you'd like a more robust drawing. Instead of using the Quick Sketch feature, let's go into the drawing component of NewtonWorks. When you select a new drawing, you again get your title page. We're going to go ahead and type logo and take a look at the bar at the very top. You have your pointer, a text tool, a line tool, a square tool, a rounded square tool, a circle, a freehand tool, a polygon tool, and then for those of us that might need some help, there's a stamp which allows you to create up to 48 stamps. There's also a fill pal and a line tool. Let's go ahead and draw a logo for our biology paper. We're going to select the square tool, and this time let's make a shadow square. So we'll go ahead and draw one square with a second square over it. You'll notice at the bottom the menu has also changed to reflect the package that you're currently working in, which is your drawing package. This looks like about the right size for the logo. Now we'll go ahead and pick a character to put inside the logo, and let's pick a whale. Go ahead and put the whale in there, and now what we'd like to do is take this drawing, and I'm going to go ahead and select it by holding my stylus down and drawing a circle around it, and we're going to make a copy of that picture. By pressing the Overview key on my keyboard, we are brought up with a quick look of all the documents that we've created. I'm going to go ahead and select the biology paper that we're working on, and by simply dragging out the information, I place my logo right in the middle of my word processing document. So far, you've seen two aspects of NewtonWorks, the drawing package and the word processor. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. When you select Spreadsheet, you're brought up to a worksheet. What I'd like to do is show you a worksheet that I've already created called School Budget. To get to the school budget, you simply tap on it and you're brought to the worksheet that I've already created. You've got text along the rows, you have text in the columns, and then you have a series of numbers. This is all done by using the keyboard as your method of input. Not only does your spreadsheet contain numbers or text, it also contains formulas. By selecting the formula button, I see all the different formulas that are already created for me, such as annuity, averages, sums, etc. Here we've done a sum of column number 1. By holding our stylus down and highlighting the 3 rows next to it, we can now use the familiar spreadsheet commands to fill that information to the right by selecting the Fill Right option. Part of the spreadsheet is not just numbers and text, but also the capability to create charts. By holding our mouse down and selecting a group of numbers, I can now come in and select the Chart option. The system will go out and create a chart for me. It puts my title up, and it also puts the percentages up. If I'd like to copy that and incorporate that into my word processing document, I simply tap on Copy and Chart is brought to the forefront. Going back to my overview, I can select my report one more time and select an area to drop that chart into and simply select Paste. And now, as part of my overall document, I have the chart, which is in the middle of my word processing document. So NewtonWorks is an integrated software package that talks to all of the package it's comprised of: the drawing package, the spreadsheet, the word processor, and the graphing calculator. When you take your eMate out of the box, you'll also notice that you have a CD that accompanies your unit. On the CD, you'll find the Newton connection utilities that allows you to synchronize your eMate with either a Windows or a Macintosh OS-based desktop computer. You'll have Classroom Exchange, which allows you to connect your Macintosh teacher station or server to the eMate. You'll also get a program called NewtonPress, which is what we're going to take a look at now. NewtonPress allows you to use text, graphics, and even the internet to create books, which you can then download to an eMate. We'll also be taking a look at Newton Connection Utility. This is the utility you use to synchronize your eMate with either a Macintosh or a Windows-based desktop computer. So after we create our NewtonPress document, we'll then use Newton Connection Utilities to download the information to the eMate. NewtonPress is the name of the application that allows you to be the creator of content to go from the Macintosh to your eMate. I'm going to double-click on NewtonPress, and what you're presented with is an image of the eMate screen. I'm also going to go out to the internet, because what I'd like to do is be able to take information from the internet and incorporate it into the document that I'm creating for the eMate. Here we've got a kid's internet bill of rights. We'll go to that bookmark, and here we see some information on why children should have the right to explore, to feel safe and secure, and participate and learn on the internet. If we like this information, we can select it all and copy it. Coming back out to our NewtonPress document, you can see here that I've already pasted the information in. And we can scroll through the information. If I want to, I can add more information to it. I can create topic lists. I can create a title. Here we've got the title being Internet. Once you get all of the information into your document, you can then prepare this book for use with the Apple eMate simply by selecting Create. When we select Create, you'll notice that the title of your document, along with the text, is put into a package, which is then ready to be transferred to the eMate. I'm going to go ahead and select Create. The system very quickly saves the package. And by coming out here, we see our new package, Internet Test Package. That's all there is to it. You've gone out on the internet, you've selected your content, you have copied and pasted it into the NewtonPress application, and you created a package. Now that package is ready to be downloaded to your eMate. Before we can synchronize the eMate and the Macintosh, we first need to connect. To do that, we're going to plug a serial cable into the serial port on the eMate. By double-clicking on the Newton Connection utility and launching the application, we're starting the communication between the eMate and the Macintosh. In the Extras drawer, you'll find an icon called Dock. By clicking on Dock and selecting either Serial or AppleTalk, we initiate the connection and our screen changes. There are some basic utilities such as Synchronize, Install Package, and Use Keyboard. This is kind of interesting. It allows you to use the Macintosh keyboard to download information to your eMate. We also have moving information to your desktop and moving information to your Newton device. Let's go ahead and install that NewtonPress document. Here we have the internet text. I'm going to go ahead and open it, and boom, that's all there is to it. Your NewtonPress document is now part of the Apple eMate system. Now that we have our NewtonPress document on the eMate, let's take a look at it. Go into the Extras drawer and simply select the text of that document. And here we have it. When you're done viewing it, simply press close and you're back to where you started. The second part of the Newton Connection utility is exporting and importing of information. You can export data and do a straight ASCII or RTF transfer, or you can retain the format of your NewtonWorks documents by doing a NewtonWorks export. Let's take a look at how a NewtonWorks word processing document is exported from your eMate and placed on your Macintosh. I'm simply going to select NewtonWorks Export. The system goes out and looks at all of the Newton documents I have on the eMate, and here is a document called eMate Paper. I'm going to select that document, and then I'll get a whole host of ways to translate that document. NewtonWorks Paper, Apple Works, Claris Works, Microsoft Works. So you see here that you've got a lot of translation built in to the Newton Connection utility. We're going to go ahead and translate this into a Claris word processing document. Go ahead and save. The system goes out, talks to the eMate, takes the information, and places it on my Macintosh. When I double-click on my Mac hard drive, I will automatically see the information that I just transferred. Here's the Apple eMate document, and you'll notice the familiar Claris Works icon. When I double-click on that, it's going to launch Claris Works for me and bring up the document. And here we have a duplicate of the document that appears on my Apple eMate. Let's take a look at it first on the Macintosh and now on the eMate. The World Wide Web and access to the information that resides there is on everyone's mind today. The Apple eMate 300 gives you the software to gain access to the World Wide Web. Additional tools you'll need will be an internet service provider and a modem. You can use an external modem by plugging it into the serial port located on the left-hand side of the eMate, or you can use a PCM CIA modem. This modem card plugs right into the right-hand side of the eMate into the card slot. Once the card is inserted, the Apple eMate will tell you that a communication card has been inserted. Press OK, and then by opening the Extras drawer, you'll see two things: Internet Setup as well as NetHopper. By selecting Internet Setup, you can then choose the internet service provider that you would like to connect to the World Wide Web. By tapping on New, you'll see a whole host of providers that are available for you to use. Earthlink is the provider that we're going to use. By selecting NetHopper in the Extras drawer, we're brought to a blank screen. This is the beginning point. You can then choose to log into the network and browse the internet. I've put some bookmarks in here of different sites that I find interesting. There's a search engine called Yahoo. By tapping on Yahoo, we invoke the Yahoo website. Notice the grayscale coloration. Not only is NetHopper capable of downloading textual information, it can also download image files. Here we have an example of grayscale images. By jumping to the Allpen page, which is the manufacturer of this software, we go to their home page. And again, you're greeted with a grayscale picture of the Allpen software. And finally, let's hop to Apple's new spring lineup. By going to that web page, we get a customer letter and other information that's pertinent to the new spring lineup. By pressing the scrolling arrows, we can scroll through the level of information and tap on buttons for more information. Here we have information on the eMate 300, a new class of mobile computer. And finally, let's hop to the Newton web page, where we can gain even more information on the eMate 300. Again, you're brought up with a grayscale picture, and by scrolling, we can look for further information in regard to the new products and the world of Newton. There you have it, a quick tour of the World Wide Web brought to you by the Apple eMate and NetHopper. Keeping in mind, you must secure an internet service provider as well as a modem. That modem can be a PCM CIA card modem or an external serial modem. So what we've given you today is the Apple eMate 300, and a whole product solution. The functionality of NewtonWorks with its built-in word processor, spreadsheet, graphing calculator, and drawing package, bundled with connection software that allows you to connect your eMate to a Macintosh or a Windows-based machine, to transfer files and also translate file information, and then to go beyond the walls of your world into the World Wide Web and the Internet using NetHopper and the Apple eMate 300.
Hi, I'm Bob Ebert, and I'm an engineer with the Newton Systems Group at Apple Computer. I implemented the graphing calculator for the eMate product. The graphing calculator is a tool to let students explore math. It lets you do the same things that you would do on handheld calculators like those from Texas Instruments or Hewlett-Packard. The calculator is part of the NewtonWorks suite of applications, and to get to the functionality, you tap on the New button and choose Calculations. To create a function to graph, you type the name of the function and then what the definition of the function is. And then tap the Tools menu and choose Graph, or hit Command-G. After a few seconds, the graph will appear. There's your graph. So to do basic math, you enter the expressions in this window and press the Enter key on the keyboard to get the result. We have a full range of functions, constants, and expressions, as well as advanced concepts like infinity and undefined values. The user can also create values for use in their own calculations by typing the name of the variable and its value, and then you can use that in follow-on calculations to see what the different values would be. To create a function, you type the name of the function and its arguments, followed by the expression. And then you can see what the function is at different values by typing the name of the function and getting a result. Now we'll graph a function. To graph a function, you put the cursor on the line containing the function and then choose Graph from the Tools menu. After a second, the graph will appear showing your function. Once the function is visible, you can tap on the line in the graph and a cursor will appear snapped to the line. The arrow keys move the cursor back and forth along the function, so you can, for example, find the minimum of this function by moving the cursor down to where x is 2 and y is 9. Down here, the values of the function at the current point appear. The cursor can also appear anywhere on the graph and just move around freely. To add a second graph, you type the second function and hit Command-G. As long as it has a different name, a second line will appear, and you can snap to either line. Use the Tab key to move back and forth. Next, let's look at a polar graph. To create a polar graph, you create a function where the radius is a function of theta. One of my favorites is right here. And then from the Tools menu, choose Graph Polar or hit Command-Option-G. After a few seconds, the polar graph will appear. And just like with the standard graph, you can tap on the graph, move the cursor around, and a display of the theta and r values for the function appears down at the bottom. The calculator also lets you look at functions in a table format. To do that, you again select the function that you want, and from the Tools menu, choose Table. A table will appear showing the values of the functions at different values of x. You can use the arrow keys to scroll up and down. Like with the graph, you can put multiple functions in a table and look at their relative values. You can also copy and paste graphs, tables, and text among other documents. To do that, to copy a graph, you go to the Edit menu and you choose the Copy Graph. Text and tables are copied and pasted using the standard editing keys. To paste it someplace, you do the standard paste. And there's your graph. To help people remember what functions are available, we have a menu of functions built in. You access that by tapping on the Tools menu and choosing Functions. The functions are divided into categories, accessible from the picker, and here you see the statistics functions that are available. There's a lot to explore in the graphing calculator. To learn more, there's online help as well as a user's guide available. We expect students and teachers to get a lot of use from this application, which is built into every eMate.
Hi, I'm Garth Lewis, Manager of User Experience at the Newton Systems Group. Today I'm going to talk about two applications, Teacher Setup and the eMate Classroom Exchange. Both of these applications are designed to allow the teacher to configure the eMate in a way that best fits the classroom situation. They have two key benefits. One is flexibility, and the other ease of use. Let's take a look at teacher setup. There are two modes you can set for the eMate: classroom mode and full Newton system. Classroom mode is typically used in a classroom situation or any multiple user environment where you want to provide access to certain applications only. Full Newton system allows users to access all the applications installed in the eMate. There are two buttons at the bottom of the slip and a close box. The dock options relates to connecting the eMate to a desktop computer. The classroom options button applies only if you use the device in classroom mode. Let's take a look at dock options first. There are two dock or connection options that you can choose. The first configures the dock button on the keyboard to automatically connect to the desktop connectivity software that you're using. Classroom dock will connect you to the eMate Classroom Exchange. Dock will connect to the Newton connection utilities. The second control chooses which desktop computer the eMate will connect to. Once the teacher has set these preferences, the students can use the eMate without worrying about configuration at all. Let's look at classroom options. Remember, classroom options are only relevant if you're in classroom mode. The first control allows you to set which printer the eMate will connect to. Once you set your printer, you won't have to change a setting unless you change the printer you're using. The next setting allows you to turn spell checking on and off, which might be handy during a spelling test. This last option allows you to store multiple users' data on the eMate at the same time. When you tap the checkbox, two more checkboxes appear with various security options. The first one selects password protection for each user. If you select this option, whenever the eMate is turned on, the next user must select his or her name from a user list and then type in the correct password. If you choose not to use this option, users can access other users' information. The second checkbox prevents new users from being created at login. Only the teacher or administrator can add names. You can enter, change, and delete users and passwords. You do this by tapping the Edit Users button. Right now we have no users installed on the device. But if we did, we'd see a list of names. And if you were to delete one of those names, you would also delete the information and data related to that user. Edit Extras is an option that allows the teacher to decide which applications show up in the Extras drawer while in classroom mode. The Select Recommended Applications button at the bottom will set the default applications for the user. So what are the advantages of using classroom mode or full Newton system? Well, in classroom mode, the user is presented with a simpler user interface. There's no filing, for instance. The teacher can choose which applications the student can access, and you have the ability to store multiple users' data on board with password protection. In full Newton system, the student has access to all the applications in the Newton system and a slightly more sophisticated interface. Another real benefit is that teachers can take the information stored in teacher setup and transfer it to multiple eMates. By using a PC card or Newton connection utilities, you simply back up the system information and transfer it to as many eMates as you're using. This can save teachers an enormous amount of time if they're configuring many units. Next, I want to talk about eMate Classroom Exchange, desktop connectivity software designed specifically for the classroom. eMate Classroom Exchange allows you to connect one or multiple eMates to a desktop computer and exchange information. It turns the desktop computer into a server and runs in the background so that other students can use the Mac at the same time. The first step is to physically connect the computer to the eMate. Once Classroom Exchange is loaded, you can open the folder, double-click on the application icon, and go to Preferences. It's here that you can designate how the eMate is connected to the desktop, what information is backed up, where the student documents should be stored, and whether or not you want the information to be moved from the eMate or copied from the eMate. Now that we've set preferences, the next step is to drive the application from the eMate. You do that by simply tapping the dock button. A slip comes up, you hit return, and a connection is made. The system knows that it's me that's connecting to the computer. I hit return again, and it asks me if I want to get work from the server or copy work to the server, a simple bidirectional choice. I say copy work to server. This simplified interface, asking simply what direction do you want to move information, has tested extremely well with students and teachers alike. Right now, the application is moving all the information on the eMate to the Macintosh. And that's it. It's done. The student can then walk away. All their information has been saved and backed up. The same basic process is used to get information. I tap the dock button. I can hit connect. Once the connection is made, I simply enter in my username and tap Get Work from Server. A connection is made to the Macintosh. A file list is displayed, and you can select documents from that file list. Here we see a variety of documents that are in my user folder on the desktop. There's also a shared folder so teachers can deposit documents that they want students to have access to. So let's select a document that we want to get, biology report. I tap Get, and that document is transferred from the Macintosh to the eMate. This application also allows you to convert documents to and from your favorite desktop applications. It's our experience that the eMate will be used as an origination device. Students will begin their documents, word process them, and then upload them to the desktop computer for polishing off. As you can see, eMate Classroom Exchange provides powerful functionality combined with ease of use for maximum flexibility and productivity in the classroom.
Hi, I'm Wayne Grant, Vice President of Educational Products at Knowledge Revolution, a science and math educational software company. I'm very excited to be talking to you today because after working with the Apple Classrooms of Tomorrow project for 6 years on Wireless Coyote and Cloud Forest Classroom, I'm really excited about what the eMate brings to science education. What strikes me as being most important about this product is the fact that not only is it affordable, it's extremely portable. And that portability turns any classroom, any home, the world in fact, into a science lab environment. Because we want to make it possible for teachers to offer the kinds of authentic science experiences I've just described, we developed the General Science Activity Kit. Let me walk you through its components. The heart of the general science curriculum is eProbe, the software application that enables students to take their eMates out into the world, collect data, visually analyze it in graphs and tables, write notes about those data, and form conclusions. In order to collect the data, we supply a set of probes: temperature probe, voltage leads, light sensor, and serial interface box. Serial interface box functions as the interface between the probe and the eMate and allows the eMate to receive probe signals and turn those into the appropriate data. To help teachers get started, we developed the General Science Activities Guide. It includes 25 activities that allow students to do these kinds of authentic science investigations around the home, in the car, nearby field and stream, and other places where scientific inquiry may take them. Now let me introduce you to the software application and show you exactly what you can do with eProbe. I've already launched the eProbe application, and you can see that we've started out in an experiment view. On the left, I have a summary of the trials that I've already undertaken in this experiment. For each of the trials, in fact, for this particular trial, I have a summary of its data collection information. As well, I have a preview of the graph. I can expand each of these simply by tapping them. Let's start a new collection, and I do that simply by tapping on Collect. In this case, we're going to look at how hot coffee cools when we add ice to it, in effect making iced coffee. You can see in this view the temperature of the hot water. I've already put the probe in it, so it is stabilizing around 80 degrees Celsius, which is very close to boiling. I've set up the experiment to collect automatically for 20 seconds, and I can begin it simply by tapping on Start. So I'm going to tap Start, it's starting to collect data, it's plotting the data. I'm going to add the ice. And you can see the temperature begin to drop as the ice begins to have its effect on the temperature of the coffee. Notice the rate at which it descends. Simply keep the data, and I now have the opportunity to title it. I'll exit just to show you that even if you don't title it, nothing is lost. Notice that our untitled trial appears here, and I can recover the information about that trial simply by tapping on it. This is the summary of the information that surrounds the trial, how quickly I sampled, the calibration information related to the probe, and a preview of our graph. Now this is a very simple experiment, but it shows you just how easy it is to use eProbe on the eMate 300 and how interesting even the simplest of things can be.